schools to support the littlest ones and their families. The next two goals that I'd like to share an update on are around MLL TAP goals. So we have two, increasing the number of students served in our bilingual programs / language, and then also those students who are meeting the targets on access. So I'm going to start with the access one first. So the access assessment really shares how our learners are doing in the 4 language domains: speaking, listening, reading, and writing. This assessment is usually done January, February. Our goal for 26-27 is 67%, and for this school year, it's 41%. Currently, right now, based on the data, because we haven't taken this year's obviously yet, we have 23 schools that are meeting this goal of 36% or more, and 18 that do not. So this is a goal that we're actively monitoring. Yeah.
So you mentioned our goal 26-27. Does that mean you're giving me a goal different than what the top goals are?
Nope, that's right in the top.
Top goals 24-25.
It's going for year 26-27. They were extended.
So if I look at the PDF that's online available at 4 PBD Kids, maybe this is outdated because it's 24-25. This is the publicly available document on 4pbdkids.com, public facing.
And that's what I shared in my communication to you guys, that the current top goals that are available to us are the ones that are 24-25. And so I think it's important that if there has been any changes and extensions to that, let's just be clear about that and let us know, like, did these goals have changed? We're not projecting to 2026, 2027. And then also, you know, sort of like, what are the goals for 23, 24? I don't know, Arlen, if you have any thoughts on that.
No, 100% agree. Madam Chair, this is the whole point of this discussion, which is, as we were getting TAP updates at the full board meeting, I noticed that we weren't discussing the current metrics available in this publicly available PDF. So again, to emphasize your point, if there have been revisions, if it has been edited because of the amendment or whatever the case may be, then that should be publicly available information.
So to follow on that question, when were these revisions made? I said, when were these revisions?
It is on our website, but I guess it's not following up to the, you said PBD,
4 PBD Kids?
the PBD for kids, but it is on our website.
On our district
On the
website,
district website, okay.
yeah, it's showing TAP presentation March 2023. And then it shows like a very similar table and it's extended through the 26, 27. So it must have just not made it to the.
So yeah, we're looking at, Madam Chair, I'm sorry, I'm chiming in here. I'm looking at the PDF, the turnaround action plan that was put on that website that was publicized when the state intervention first began.
Okay.
And I think it would, so I use both documents when I reviewed mine. I use the, top goal, the top document that starts 18-19 as sort of like to be able to like guide myself. But then when it came to figuring out when, like the percentage per year, I used the March presentation. But I guess I didn't realize that the March presentation, which really messed up, or like went all the way to 27.
It did, yep.
So I will. All right.
As I've been sharing mine with you, I've been giving you the long term, but I've also been giving you the goal for this year. So that's what I've been sharing the goal for. The other piece of the RMLL goal is also around the additional, the increasing of students served by our bilingual programs and PPSD. And so currently right now, we are at 1,856 seats, and when you notice on the metric, you'll see that it's by seats, it's not percentage, a little different than some of the other goals. And so here, just to highlight some progress towards that particular metric, we've expanded all of our MLL dual language programs at the middle school. So Stewart now currently has a 6th, 7th, and 8th grade strand. Young Woods also began a dual language strand in kindergarten this year, and Spaziano is also increasing their strand. So currently they have 2 from K to 2, and then next year we'll start going 3, 4, and 5. So here, the target for this year was supposed to be 2,192, so we're a little shy of that one. So we are actively monitoring that particular goal.
What have you observed as like possibly reasons why?
So one of the things that we've noticed, so we made a little bit of changes. So as you know, when Laurel closed, we had a second, third, fourth, and fifth, the DLS and the DLE strand. And what we did is we brought that to Young Woods. However, we are doing it more as a traditional bilingual, so we've lost some of those seats due to that, but we're starting to grow it up, which is why we decided to start at K, so we could grow that to that. So that is something that we have been working on.
Madam Chair, if I may. So so we're talking about goals here, but the goals are supported by the initiatives, and I'm asking this question because I believe it's going. Have the initiatives changed? The initiatives support the progress on the goal, and so the initiatives are explicitly spelled out in the top plan. Like, have there been modifications to the initiatives too?
I'll talk about mine. I can talk for everybody else. But as far as the pre-K, no, that has been increasing the number of seats year to year. So that has been the same. Same thing with increasing the quality. So having all bright stars. So again, that has not changed. So that is pretty much the same. As far as our goals around the MLL targets for access, I would say no, that didn't change. We are still, some of the initiatives that we've been working on for that has been around the dual language and MLL coaching that was part of our DOJ agreement. That has continued. The rollout of our ELD curriculum to support, that also has not changed. That has continued. We've also been doing some professional learning. So I would say no, the initiatives on that have not. That's stayed the same. And I would say the same thing for the bilingual and the dual language. It's to continuously increase. Like, one of the things we want to do is to increase that middle school, and we've continued on that trajectory. So I would say for those, no. I'm not sure if that's the same with all the others, but for those have remained the same. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. Or then across the board, when I read like all the documents, I noted that the initiatives are pretty much the same. I think the variations have been on whether like there's been other events like school closure or things like that that might have affect, or like the pandemic or things like that that might have affected those numbers.
Thank you.
I would agree with that. I think, one of the things we saw when we were looking at our targets for our MLL is that, year 2020, we were closer to reaching the target that we had for this year. And we had a, huge drop right after COVID. And so I think that definitely had. And then as far as if there were schools closing, we're still looking for other opportunities and other buildings to grow. Even though, we didn't completely get rid of those programs that were there, we just, housed them at another school and are growing the strand. So I would say the initiative stayed the same. We're just looking at alternative options to support that. And then our last metric would be increasing the number of students meeting or exceeding the DLM. So the DLM is an alternate assessment that we have for students who require alternative testing as part of their IEP. That's administered in the spring, and we just started getting the results back for that now, and we're sent those individually. So I cannot update right now at this time, but at our next update, I will be able to share where we are with that particular goal. And that's just because we just started receiving those assessments. So I am going to turn it over to Colleen, who is going to, I think, talk about some of the goals around academics.
Yeah, so as you've seen, excellence in learning, it's a lot of metrics. So in addition to the 4 TAP goals that Sandy dug into, I'm going to dig into 7 additional goals. For context, I have the privilege of leading our content area team, so that's our literacy, math, science, social studies, world language teams, as well as the one of the teams that provides professional development and coaching direct to schools. So the first TAP goal I'd like to share is about our seal of biliteracy. And so that TAP goal has to do with increasing the number of students who receive that seal annually. In 26-27, our goal will be 30%. And so I'm going to rewind back to 21-22. The goal for that year was 20%. And so this past school year, 232 students earned seals, which actually is an increase of 98 seals from the year prior. We are still waiting for final graduation numbers to come in, and so because of that, we'll be able to calculate the updated percentage from this last year once that happens. But what's really exciting is that we have already awarded 112 seals this year, which is almost, it's just under 50% of where we were at the end of the year last year. So we are really making some great progress towards the 22% goal for this current school year. And then the next TAP metrics I'm going to go through are the 4 RICAS metrics and the 2 SAT metrics. So those are our big like academic metrics. So for RICAS, 2 of the goals have to do with our 3rd and 8th grade math RICAS scores, so increasing the percentage of students falling in that meeting and exceeding expectations. This year, the goal for our 3rd graders is 23%, our 8th graders is 16%. Similarly to the math RICAS, we also have 2 ELA RICAS goals. 3rd grade, we're trying to get to 34% proficient this year, and 8th grade, 28%. And then with SAT, we also have an ELA and a math goal. So we are shooting this year for ELA to hit 25% of students, and our math SAT for 41% of our students to be meeting the next year. So the next bullets that I talk about in terms of what we're doing to meet those goals really apply to all of them holistically. So because we know that we need to be able to plan for instruction prior to when those scores actually land in our laps, we have been working hard to implement systems that give us leading indicators working up so that we can formally assess student progress and strategically drive instruction. So this is where I'm going to lift some of the pieces off of the report that align with that. So last year we began the process of implementing district-wide common assessments. We started with ELA and mathematics. And so as part of that, we rolled out an assessment management system called Mastery Connect, and it captured all of that data. So this year, we've built on that. We've now implemented Canvas, which is the learning management system. Canvas is that one-stop shop that connects instruction, the Mastery Connect assessment piece, and all of our grading. So, which directly aligns with the grading policy work we've been talking about in terms of making sure that there's just actually easy to access data at all times for teachers, administrators, so that they can drive instruction, but also to make sure there's transparency for our students and families around how they're progressing. In addition to that, we last year worked through the RFP process to continue adding to our group of unified curricular materials across the district. We specifically focused on supplemental materials for ELA and math. And so this year we've just started implementing iReady ELA in grades K through 8, ST Math in grades K5, and Imagine Math in grades K6. So that the access to those curricular resources, high quality curricular resources goes across all the schools.
So Colin, one of my questions in the review was, do we have data of how our kiddos did last year?
On RICAS?
Well, not last year, like the year before.
Yes, that is released, and we have the data from 21-22. We do not yet have the 22-23. We're hoping to get that soon.
Okay, so one of my questions in terms of the March report, so what's highlighted red, is that 6% the actual number, or is that a projection?
Those are the actual percentages. So that column for 21-22 was the actual, it represents our actual data.
Okay, so we went in RICAS, 8th grade RICAS, for example, math, from -5 or less than 5%, sorry, 5 isn't represented, to 6%, and then our goal for this year is 10%.
Let me just make sure I'm looking at the same slide as you. I'm sorry.
It should be slide 11.
Thank you.
Number 11, I don't know what number slide. Oh, yeah, 11.
And you were talking about which grade level?
I just picked one, but it was
Okay.
8th grade math, right?
Okay.
Yes. So the school year goal of 18-19 was 7%. In school year 21-22, we had 6%. Our goal by 26-27 is 50%. My question is 21-22
Yeah.
is 6%. Our goal for next year is to see results of 10%, as long as all those things that we're implementing,
Yes.
right, positively affect the education of our kids.
Right, so in that column where it talks about the 10% in that example, that's what we're expecting to see when this set of results comes out, when we get cut scores and all those pieces. And we're currently working to increase by another 6% this year.
And since we started last year with sort of like a little bit of an assessment, do we have like any leading data telling us that we are improving, that we're not making any progress? Is there anything?
So part of some of the assessments that so a couple of things. Our curricular assessments, because some of our curriculum was brand new last year, some of like Amplify was a brand new curriculum, and we were still working on implementation. There has to be studies like from psychometricians that align our curricular assessment data to RICAS data, which takes multiple iterations to ensure that the data is reliable. We do have one metric that the district has used for a very long time, which is STAR. We have worked this year, we rebranded STAR, making sure we have at least, I think, 90% participation on that assessment, because it does provide some predictive data for us. It's predictive, it's not exact, but we can use it as a dipstick along the way to work through which students need more support, which students are ready for advancement. Yeah. The last piece
I
of
have
just,
one clarification. Just
Sure.
on STAR, so with some of these interim assessments are based off the standards, presumably.
Yeah.
STAR is a measure of how kids do this.
Yeah, I'm familiar with STAR. My child has been, he's
Yeah.
sick.
the last piece I just wanted to share, that was highlighted in the report, was that we also adopted last year 2 foundational skill curriculums. So thinking about systemically for our district, a key performance indicator for 3rd grade is early literacy, specifically kindergarten. And so we adopted 2 high-quality foundational skill curriculums, magnetic reading is the English side, and benchmark is what we're using in our dual language Spanish classrooms, our bilingual classrooms. And so we are just now in the first few weeks of implementing that. So we're looking forward, again, to tracking that data, and over time, when our current kindergartners are 3rd graders, we hope to see that systemic impact on their reading performance. Yeah. I'm now gonna pass it to Karina to move into the next pillar.
Thank you.
How's everybody doing? So I'm Karina, Chief Family and Community Engagement. So I just want to report on our Engaged Communities updates. I just want to acknowledge that I got your feedback, so I was looking through some of the questions. I want to start with like some progress celebration and understand that many of those metrics, based on the feedback that you gave us, are measured once a year through the Survey Works survey, which is a statewide survey. And the window for the survey is January to March. But one thing that we want to acknowledge is that, yes, the survey is an opportunity for parents and students to inform us and give us their feedback and to sort of understand about the outcomes and the areas that need growth and that they need support. But it is reflective of the culture at the school level and at the district level. So what we do understand is that the result of the survey is really the collaboration and everything that happens behind the scenes, so that parents can feel that sense of empowerment, that sense of belonging. So a couple of highlights on the growth that we made. We were able to increase the percentage of families that responded to survey work. We went from 27% to 39% in a year. So that is a 13% growth. So we do look forward. This upcoming year, our goal will be 48%. So we have a lot of work to do, and we understand that we have a plan in place. We have now put out, like I said, the survey is like the answer, right? but you gotta put in the work behind the scenes in order to make these accomplishments. So one thing that we have, a couple of things that we have done is to ensure that, yes, the schools understand the importance, but we're involving also our partners to have metrics that are in alignment to the goals that we have as a district. So engaging the community, engaging our structured means of communication and engagements for our families and community to also be part of this. So I wanted to talk about the things that we have done to engage and to empower our parents. So Parent University has been very successful. We offered last year over 28 workshops, and we engaged over 1,200 parents who learned about many topics that are important for the educational journey of the student, but also for their journey as a parent in our district. They learned about multilingual learning programs, mental health, preparing for college. And one thing we're going to do this year to expand that engagement is we are keeping our Parent University. We send invites for all of our internal departments to collaborate and come to inform our families through this vehicle. Now we are starting a partnership with CCRI, and we are going to be expanding our supports to ensure that our families, our parents, have the opportunity to pursue like a CNA certification program, enroll and pursue certification, medical assistant, software, English as a second language, and also the GED. So we want to now grow. Another thing that we wanted to talk about is our parent ambassadors. Our parent ambassadors support the school, so we require that each school recommends a parent ambassador. They receive a stipend, so it's a collaboration, and they are expected to support the school from 5 to 10 hours a week. So the importance is that they are present at the school, but they are also the voice of the school at the district. So many of our parent ambassadors are also active members and leaders of our Parent Advisory Council and our District Advisory Council structure as well. Our McKinney Mentor program, so supporting our families with insecure housing. We have been able to, we identified and supported over 300 students last year. We were able to provide with connection to resources, not only within the district, but outside the district with healthcare agencies and other local agencies, providing services with transportation. So we are now also expanding and making sure that many additional members within our team are able to support our families. We try to do it within 24 hours. And if there is a delay, it's most likely because of a weekend or a holiday, but 24 hours within a business, 24 business hours.
So can I ask, because I had a question about that specific one, in terms of, so the initiative is great. I actually, a lot of things that you were mentioning just resonate for me for like what full service community schools is, right? Like wrapping around the whole child. But I'm thinking that 350 is an amazing number, congratulations. But like, is there like a baseline, like out of how many were you able to support?
So the 300 students that were identified were all supported. So everybody
Okay, so
who is
100%.
yes, so everybody who is referred to us is because they are being referred by someone because they need some sort of service. The most basic service is oftentimes like transportation and connection to like food resources. Also what we're trying to do is build awareness. So one thing we do is part of our funding. We separated part of our funding. I know I'm getting the look over here. I asked permission for this. So what we did is we are offering actually teacher PD, paid PD, professional development, because what we find is that families struggle with like self-identification, and we want to make sure that they understand there is a resource and a support system in place. So we are now launching throughout the year. It's going to start in November and it's going to culminate in June. We're going to have paid after-school professional development opportunities for all our union members to learn about the McKinney Mentor and how they can support students and families.
I have a question on the tab of increase the percent of students who feel a sense of belonging after school for 22, 23.
81%.
For the students who feel a sense of belonging in their school?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the, I was looking
I'm
at.
sorry, I was looking at the slide.
First one.
So increase the percentage of students who, let me find out.
Feel a sense of belonging.
Yes, so it was 39% of students felt that they,
Survey works is in January, right?
it's January to March, that's the window.
So it hasn't been, for the 23, 24, it hasn't been done yet.
Yeah.
No, so that would have been for 22, 23 school year.
Yeah, but, yeah. Yeah, so for 21, 22, right, 39%, 22, 23.
39. 39, we stayed the same, so we remain.
Okay, all right, so that needs to be, that needs to go there. So we're at 39%, 22, 23.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that inaccurate on the website?
No,
It says 21, 22,
39.
it says 39% 21, 22, and it says expected 22, 23, 48%.
So we didn't reach that goal.
So we didn't reach our goal.
We didn't
So
reach
we
that.
are at the 39% mark.
Yeah, I do believe when there are updates, and this is one of the focal points, it should be listed on here. As much as, we want to talk about like the success measures, right? Like
It
if
should
this
be
is on,
highlighted.
yeah, there should be it should be labeled on here because of one of the.
And I'm gonna be super honest, so like as a parent, right, I'm looking at this and that first one, right, says increased percentage of PTSD families responding to, oh, that's not listed here, this one's the parents.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, but I would wanna know that my child, that we still have work to do. I think that's a lot of the things that people are missing. Like, yes, you guys are doing amazing work, but what else do we need to do? Because we can clap our hands all the time, but people know that kids are struggling, right? And so we can say we met the 2021 benchmark this year, but we still have a little bit to go to get to the next one. And I think saying that and being authentic about it is gonna, increase transparency and increase the confidence that parents and teachers and everyone will have with the district.
I absolutely agree, and I just want to highlight that.
Yeah, no, you're good.
We don't want to confuse like celebrating progress with not recognizing that there is a need and that we still have a lot to do and that there's a need for us to come together and continue to grow, and we have put like additional structures in place. One thing that I was going to highlight is we did a collaboration in the summer with the attendance team, and we saw great success in terms of the increased attendance for especially our secondary students, which usually tends to decline in the month of June. So because of that collaboration, attendance now has been shifted over to the Department of Family and Community Engagement. And we are doing a whole child approach. It's moving away from a punitive approach to ensuring that we understand we're not punishing the child for being absent, but we are focusing on understanding why the child is absent and putting the structures in place to bring the child and the family closer to the school with the supports that they need.
So for going back around to my first question, our first item, students feeling belonging in school. So the same, we're stagnant. Just to confirm again, 22, 23, 39%, and 18, 19, 40%. So we've been 40%, 39%, so there's a drop. So in 26, 27, we're supposed to hit 80%. So what are some strategies the district can do, school board, communities at large, to be able to have students, I guess, a little more pride, a sense of belonging within the schools that they're in? Like what can we do? What are the strategies that actually increase?
So I can talk about like some of the things that we have put in place. Like right now, we have hired additional administrators at the elementary level. Social workers, we have put, is it 31 social workers right
We
now?
have a total of 80 something, so we're at 1 to 250, which is a great number. So yeah.
We just put 37 school behavior interventionists in schools. We are added in the attendance team. The attendance policy was revised and an attendance guidebook was created to create that more cohesive and service approach response from our end. We also instituted community leaders gatherings where we invited the community leaders to come to us, and we are going to them to engage them in the initiatives that PPSD has, attendance being one of them, a sense of belonging and safety at the school. So trying to make sure that we send the message to all of the angles, not just within PPSD or within our department, but extending to the community.
And if I can just add, I think it's important to reiterate, and I've heard the superintendent and others say this too, is like not one of these initiatives and top pillars are a standalone pillar, right? One of them, they all interconnect to each other. So to your point about what are we doing to sort of see that increase, that relates to facilities, the conditions of our facilities. As we, revitalize and improve our facilities, you'll see that sense of belonging and care increase and have a direct impact from that, right? As we think about safety, as we continue to invest in our schools and the safety and the security systems that we have in place, parents will feel a better sense of, safety and belonging and feel better about sending the child. And so all of those things interconnect with one another and are not a standalone pillar. But I think all of those initiatives and investments end up, hitting those benchmarks across all of the pillars.
And I agree, especially facilities, but I would say, is there any data we're collecting around why students don't feel a sense of belonging? If it's the large majority of students, right, is there data that we're collecting? I mean, facilities being an obvious one.
So, and Sandra, before you answer that, I also wanted to know, you don't have to answer this right now, but if you could let me know, this percentage is based on how many students, how many students answered the survey once?
It's based on the students that answer the survey.
Got it.
So another measure that we also do, so I also feel that my office also has a big part of this, goal, SEL and mental health. And one of the things that we do give is an SEL and mental health screener. And we're about to enter that at the end of the month. And a lot of the questions are about how connected, students feel to their school. And I think one of the things that we hear loud and clear is that we need to develop relationships and, help students develop those relationships amongst themselves, amongst their community, amongst the adults in the building. So I think that's one piece of it too. And then another thing that is an initiative but we don't have a TAP goal for is restorative practices. And that is something else that we've continued. This year we've rolled out where there's actually coaches that are coaching our leaders and teams at schools to really support that work. So again, it's not, a TAP metric, but it's an initiative that I think will definitely support a lot of this.
We also have the community specialists that are in the building that also, it works with attendance, right? And I want to say a sense of belonging, you have your attendance. So how is our attendance? So if we approach attendance with being restorative instead of punitive and say, we're here to support you, bring you back to school, that's another way of making sure that we communicate with the families, we communicate with the community. As you heard before, we have also gone to many community meetings. Depending the ward, depending the council person, we go to those meetings and we have conversations. We let them know what we're working on, how we're working on, maybe the facility, but it's also, while you're having that discussion about facilities, other questions do come up at those meetings that we're able to work with families as well and give them that support. As Karina also stated, that we went to a couple of community meetings, but also the how we're reaching out to parents, how FACE is reaching out to parents, how the school themselves is talking about the school, and the sense of belonging. So one of the big things that we hear, and I've been to a couple of buildings today, school buildings today, with President Rogel, and it's the community within the building and how often they have those conversations with the students in the building. To remind, hey, how you doing? I missed you. Where were you yesterday? You wasn't in school. And that kind of conversation starts to spark, because when I was a principal, that was the kind of conversations I had with my students. And you will get more attendance in and more buy-in from the students and the family when you're having those conversations. So it's that important conversation at each building as well.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I think there are two things that and this really doesn't have anything to do with Providence takeover. This is like education as a whole, right? So in my comments, there's two things that really worried about this country's education system. There's one, just like our education workforce, how we're paying teachers, how we're treating teachers. Are we going to get? That's not sustainable, right? At all. The second part is with young people. There's been, studies of the younger generation not wanting to go to college, right? The people that are apt to go to college, right? That is dropping. And I fear that we are, and I'm talking about the country as a whole, where we're creating a generation where it's like, is college worth it, right? Because college doesn't feel worth it. So when I'm in the middle of high school, when I'm able to, articulate if I feel college is not worth it, do I feel getting a high school education is worth it, right? So if that's going in even suburban areas, right, those type of conversations, that type of backlash against getting a college education, right, that definitely will resonate in communities that we're looking to serve. And I wonder if what's the incentive, especially when you get to high school, to go to school if you feel like college is outrageous, right? And the CTE programs, I think that's a huge part, right? And these CTE programs to let people know. And I wonder also, are we bringing folks in the community with different career fields to go into school and just talk like, hey, I'm doing X, Y, Z. I went to classical. I'm doing X, Y, Z. I went to Central. I went to Mount Pleasant. In terms of engagement, I think that's an opportunity too, right? Classical, they have alumni association. I think they got their own programs, right? We know classical is one of the best schools, but for the rest of the high schools that doesn't have a CTE program, how are we actively reminding our students that there is many career opportunities? I was once in your shoes. I'm a proud PPSD graduate, and I moved on to X, Y, Z because it might help with that sense of belonging. Might help with that. Oh, going to school matters. Going to college matters.
So as you stated, right, we just jump in. We talked about the CTE programs, but we're also looking at the 5 redesigned schools that we have. And those 5 redesigned schools we're looking at too, because they're connected to our community. So if you have Alvarez is working with nursing, you go to Mount Pleasant, there's a pipeline for teaching. You go to Hope, arts. If you go to JSAC, then you're looking at life sciences. So depending where you're going, it also gives you an opportunity to see different programs that they're going to be receiving. So not only the CTE programs, I mean, we just had, last year, we had a graduation where 80% of our, I'm sorry, not 80%, 80 students of ours were given the opportunity to go work with electric boat. I mean, right out of high school. That's huge. So we look at all those alternative programs that we have when it's either college or, right? It's not ors. You have college and or you can do this too. So you can do double majors. You can have going to you go to PCTA, you get your high school diploma, but at the same time you can become a plumber, you can become a carpenter. There's many avenues, and I think that itself also lends to students wanting to go to school. We have a student who I can't remember exactly the district he came from, but he left that district just to come here so he can come to one of our programs here.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is huge when you have students coming back and say, no, I'm going to go to this school because, they're offering something that intrigues me, that I can make a living from, or I can make a career out of. So it's making sure that we have multiple pathways for our students and having that conversation. I think it's important to start having those CTE programs at an early grade. So one of our redesigned school is what is it? The CESTO. Right, so it's all coming, so you have the CESTO. So how do we go earlier on and not wait to high school to start giving our students that opportunity and that vision of, oh wow, I can do this or I can do that. So that's that conversation you're speaking about a lot earlier.
Yeah.
And I have, so I'm always gonna bring parents into it, right? So
Mhm.
how do we also encourage our parents to start having those conversations? I've been having those conversations with my oldest since he's 8, right? And so, on Monday, October 9th, there's an activity called Turn Up Rhode Island. I'm actually presenting in the afternoon, but they have something called a parent workshop. And it's sort of like an opportunity for parents. There's gonna be people of all different careers at that Times Square. But we will have, as parents, an opportunity to learn, okay, what are the professions that are available for our kids? Because sometimes parents don't even have the information to be able to promote. I have one who his mission is to work at Disney, and that's what he wants to do for life. And I'm like, all right, you decided that when you were 10. There he goes. So I think parents need resources too, and so supporting them through these different types of events and including them and letting them know, hey, your child can do something more than high school. Maybe they can be in a CTE program, or they can do much more. So
that's one thing we try to do. Always bring the opportunities, create the opportunities from within, but also expand and allow our parents to know, our families to know about opportunities within other organizations. So we recently had our college and career fair. We invited over 70 colleges, universities, technical education, military, so that families and students can learn about the different pathways they will have post graduation. Within a week of that event, we had a state event, so we communicated with families about the state event. Coming up next week, we always have our school choice fair, which is K-12. So now we decided to get a little more creative and create a unique opportunity for just our secondary students. So we are having a high school expo, and we will also have our regular school choice fair next week for families to come and just learn about high school programs. Each one of our high schools has its own identity besides our regular high school graduation pathway, they also have an additional sort of a personal identity that we want our 7th and 8th graders to come and learn about early. And then they'll have a second opportunity in November to kind of learn so that they can revisit and make an informed decision in January.
Another question on a different metric for engage, and forgive me if this is on here and I just missed it, but increase the percentage of families with a favorable perception of being involved with their child's school. 24%, 18-19, currently 21-22 is 21%, and then 22-23 the goal is 30%.
Yeah, so they increased the percentage of families with that favorable perception of being involved in their schools. So we had 21% in 21-22, then 30% in 22-23.
That's the goal,
That's
but
the
do
goal.
we have that much?
No, it was the 30%, that's what we attained. So 30%, so we saw a 9% growth and a 9% growth in that metric. So that's what we attained. So are we,
Well, if we obtain it, though, I think that should be on the sheet again.
And I love all your activities, but you repeat it in every single thing. Like, I think people want to see more, like, what's the progress? I think that's what people would want to see more.
And also want to recognize you've been in this role for
Yeah, like, a month,
3 months?
Yeah. So I think, like, for the record, you know, yeah. But I think, yeah, I, the public, like, when we have these TAP reports, it should, yeah, so it could feel like a year.
4 months.
But when we have these TAP reports, like, on the metrics, which, you know, folks are following, it should be in these one-pagers that we have, along with the successes, and if stuff doesn't get, you know, if metrics aren't getting passed, so be it. Why is it not getting passed, right? And then, you know, how can we help, right? That's not directly to you, right? That's
No,
just-
absolutely,
yeah.
we appreciate the feedback, you know, we want to make sure that it's digestible, understandable, because at the end of the day, the hard work is to serve our students and families, they are our greatest asset. We are also launching that's a new initiative, our Parent Leadership Academy, comes with a stipend. The first cohort is going to start October 14th. It's a 6-Saturday session where our parents are going to learn about how like city and state government works, how to become like educational advocates and also active community members of their community. So this is a very great opportunity to empower our families. It comes with a $500 stipend as well for families that complete their course, and it will lead them to a certification from our PBS.
Last question, the increased number of parents and caregivers engaged with the district's formal community engagement structures, I think that is captured here, right? Is that, would that be technically, is that captured with the second bullet point a little bit, or is that something else?
It will be, so that will be all of the structures we have, like district-wide advisory council, parent advisory council, it will be our parent university, it will be our parent ambassadors, our district volunteers. So we have definitely exceeded the goal. I think our top was 250. We were at over 300, like 330. So that, to your question and this feedback, Carolina, about like that's something we need to adjust because we know we are definitely exceeded by a lot. So that metric should be adjusted so that we don't stop there, but we continue to grow.
And just to say, like, if that's on here, then that's a win, right? To put on here, just to.
And that's not
Just to
something we
mirror
have
what
done
the
because
goal
our
is
goal
that
was 250, but
Yeah.
we have exceeded it very early on. So we cannot just continue to keep a lower goal.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. I'm going to pass it on to Sal Pellerano, our chief of Operations.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm pleased to share one thing that I think everybody around this table is really excited and thrilled about is our 3 new schools. And although that covering a little bit about our efficient district systems in general, those don't have necessarily like very specific metrics, it's important to know how they all connect to the overall turnaround action plan. So those schools are online. We have about, just over 1,000 students that are in a new or like new facility this year. And our goal is to have, 50% or more of the students over the next 5 years, or 5 to 7 years in like new or new schools. So that is tremendous progress. And I think the last school that was built in Providence was, well over 10 years ago. And that I think is a huge win and testament to everybody's effort. The other update or progress, as we know about our care and belonging of our schools, from a staff perspective, from a family perspective, from a student perspective, is really the cleanliness of our schools, right? And so the district, procured an integrated facilities management contract that is really focused on performance-based, to increase the standards from an APRA 3 to an APRA 2 level. Because I really sense a direct message about to our students and our staff and our families about how we care and how we want them to feel in an environment that they have a sense of belonging. And that starts with like the conditions of our schools. So I think that's a whole other progress.
I was gonna say, are you aware what Apple
Yeah.
2? Okay.
But I wanted to know the performance metrics, are those public?
The performance based metrics for
Yeah,
the
for the-
integrated
yeah.
facilities,
Yeah.
those were, I think it was a public document, because it was in the RFP.
Okay.
And our first review of that is expected to be in late November or mid-November.
So I'm just, the thing that came to my mind, like, how I think it would be crucial for PBSC to consider, right? Maybe making a dashboard or something that's like publicly available. And what I think about, hospitals where you like go in and like I'm happy in this place, and then it shows you like the waiting times and things like that.
Like data collection
Yeah,
okay.
like how people feel when they enter. Like when I enter this space, I feel happy, and they can click a happy face or something. Because I think one of the biggest things for everyone, and I wrote this in the report and the review, is like what are our metrics? And something that I forgot to say earlier is Sandra mentioned the screeners, right? That are going to happen every month. So even though SurveyWorks is our main like analytical resource, I think it's still important to say we got this score on this specific measure, but every month we've been assessing, and this is what it looks like at these schools. So I same thing with your
Is that progress monitoring?
I just want to make sure I clarify. We do it twice a year for the screeners. They're very lengthy. One is the teacher facing, the teachers complete, another. So it's done twice a year. Once at the beginning of the year and then at the end of the year. Just to clarify, we're just entering into it at the end of the month.
And along those lines, I think it's important to also recognize that, the district has done incredible work in terms of really defining what our capital plan is over the next 5 to 7 years. So with that, we have, we're just engaging in the process of continuing to engage with the community about our 2 new pre-K-8s and the investment that we're doing at Mount Pleasant. So that is part of, the efficient district systems, really thinking about how do we capture that feedback? How do we engage the community in that process so that, the outcomes that we want to see, again, impact all of the other pillars. We continue to use and invest the capital revolving fund, which has created over $7 million worth of work across the district for other schools that are not necessarily part of the larger capital plan, but still need a lot of love and care and investment in it, so that we're sending that message cohesively throughout the district. And I think the only other thing I wanted to flag before I pass it to Chris is, since the fall of 2022, we've held over 30 community sessions and listening sessions, both in our schools, in our virtually, but also in our communities, right? We visit board meetings on a monthly basis, and partner with different council folks to just really drive that message of like, what is happening? What's the progress when it comes to facilities, when it comes to the conditions of the district in terms of, our schools, and what investments is the district doing, so that we can continue to hear that reaction and feedback from the community. And so we have increased the number of engagement sessions that we've held over the, last year or so. Any questions, thoughts?
I have a off-tap question, just because I want to see it in the news. Alvarez, was Alvarez in the classroom?
Yes.
Can you,
So there was
because I guess it is really up to the tap. I mean,
Yeah. That's a good question. So I'll try to summarize it without giving you too much jargon. We all know Alvarez was built on a land that, there's a manufacturing plant. There was a mitigate, as part of the commitment to build that school, there was continuous progress monitoring of the condition and sort of gases and all of that, right? The district has done monthly monitoring for as long as you can remember.
As soon as
it opened.
Yeah. It was part of
And
the DEM agreement that I think was a super site they called the fence, called it,
Right.
monitor the,
and we have to progress monitor it monthly. So it was, back in 2015, I think, was the first elevated test. And since then, it has been no issues. Most recently, had an elevated number in one of the particular classrooms. There could have been a mix of various reasons why that could have happened. But DEM, EA Engineering, which is the vendor who we use to do that progress monitoring and monthly testing, let us know that there was slightly elevated levels that we have not seen. Again, I think the last time they saw something similar was in 2015. But there could have been a number of reasons to do that. So they put a corrective action plan, we continue to monitor. Most recently, the one that came, the test that was done in September 15, we just got the results today, and there was no evidence of that. So there could have been a number of variations as to why, that initial test that they did back then showed a slightly elevated, but out of an abundance of caution, we worked with DEM and worked with the Rhode Island Department of Health to ensure that, we were taking all the precautions. So we decided to take, that Route 116 offline temporarily while we continued to retest and make sure that, they were taking all the precautions. Again, last test that came today had no evidence. So, and it's an ongoing monitoring that we do, and we get a quarterly report of all of the testing points in that particular site.
Thank you, yeah. We're gonna take the opportunity to answer those.
If there's no other questions, I'll pass it on to Mr. Batisi, who has the other part of the Fisher District system.
Hi, good evening. I'm here to report on the strides that we've made in the finance office regarding efficient district systems. One of our initiatives was in fiscal 24, where we launched student-based budgeting. Fiscal 25 will be our second implementation of student-based budgeting, which, in a nutshell, is the dollars follow the students. Second initiative that we're proud to, that falls in line with the SBV model, is the number of dollars that principals have autonomy over. So our baseline was 3%. We increased that percentage over time to give them more dollars and more autonomy to school years to make the decisions that they need to make. And one of the third areas that we've worked on that was
How much was that increase to? I'm sorry.
so our baseline was 3%, and fiscal 22 was 11%, and we are far exceeding that for fiscal.
What's 22, 23?
It was 12%. I don't have the exact number, but that was the last time it was updated. Okay. One of the third strides that we have made as well is one of the areas that John Hopkins' report outlined was the time it took for contracts to be approved by the board of contracts to supply from the city's purview. We've since taken procurement in-house in finance, so we've significantly reduced that amount of time that RFPs are on the street, if you will, to the contract is signed. So we saw a little spike increase from fiscal 21 to fiscal 22. We went up from 50 days to 73 days, but I think that has to do with the amount of volume that as we look to align our K-12 curricula out across the district and our interventions, if you will, supplemental resources. So there's a lot of RFPs on the street. So I think that's why you saw a little bit of a spike from those fiscal years. Happy to answer any questions.
22, 23?
We are striving towards our goal of 56, and we definitely
Well, that was last year, 22, 23 is last year. Okay, so we don't know yet.
We do not have that.
It's 6:41.
Time check. Good timing, my man. Good timing. Moving on to Mr. James. Good evening, Herman James here, Chief Talent Officer. I'd like to certainly provide just a brief update on world-class talent. As you know, we just did this 2 weeks ago. So I don't want to be redundant here with sharing the data. We did that through our presentation on the 20th of September. And you should have a PowerPoint presentation to certainly support all of our 22, 23 data that we have ready. But I just want to share that we did provide, I think there was some follow-up data requests that we submitted to the school board along with regarding our exit survey data and also looking at the denominators for the percentage of teachers that we hired for this year based on how many teachers and how many positions we have per year. For that, but I also want to just share the good news. And I think we shared this 2 weeks ago, but I want to just highlight it pretty much the new teacher assistant certification program. We're looking at how we're growing our substitutes and our volunteers and community members, our parents, to become teacher assistants. I think we shared that we have currently 100 plus vacancies for teacher assistants. And this program that's in-house will certainly help us certify those folks who are interested in becoming teacher assistants so that we can certainly fulfill those high need areas, special education, et cetera.
Like that
for our
program
schools.
started?
Not yet. We're going to kick it off in November, so we're excited about that. The first pilot will be 25 TAs, candidates. Our hope is to certainly build on that program and maybe have a simultaneously program where we have 2 or 3 cohorts at one time, so that we can certainly build that to where we can get up to maybe 75 to 100 applicants for this program. So we're very excited about that piece, and that helps with, I think, the support development of our very own and also the retention, because from there we move from the TA pipeline to teachers with our Grow Your Own program, which we're very excited about, which will be starting very soon. So we're excited about that piece as well. The final thing I'd like to say is our retention. So we know we're not at our goal of 96%. We're at 93% this year of classrooms being fully staffed by teachers. We're not happy with that. Our goal, as you know, is 96%, and we're at 93%. But there's still a lot of work to do there. So we're implementing that retention strategy, that retention plan and development. We had our very first meeting last Friday with our consultant. We have a consultant who's working with us to certainly start to plan, and then we'll invite all the stakeholders to the retention plan board to certainly start to build out those strategies across the district as to how we're going to certainly and those teachers and support and development. We're doing a lot of things now with the support and development, but we still have a lot that we have to certainly uncover to see why our teachers are leaving and how can we retain them in our district.
So this is not an individual goal, but is there like special attention being placed to teacher assistants that focus on special education? Or I'm asking because my troublemaker has a one-on-one, right? And so that's not acceptable in every school. And so what happens when he goes to high school and maybe nobody's able to like be that one-on-one for him? So any like a specific focus on training teacher assistants that focus on supporting individuals.
Yeah, I know this, Sammy's going to probably jump into this as well, but our teacher assistant certification program is certainly going to be just for those areas, special ed areas. That's the first thing. We want to make sure those high need areas are done first. But the training piece, we have done a number of training within the district to support our teacher assistants. And I know, Sandy, if you want to just jump in there about that.
Yeah, we've done a lot of training here. We, especially like, for example, our, TAs that are in our behavior intervention programs, we have a lot of extensive training. So we definitely are, is it an area we can improve? Absolutely. I think, it is, an area we can provide more training. It is a very hard to fill area. Just like, special ed is in general right now, assistants also. It's not just, PD where they come in, but it's also one-on-one with like, our managers when they go in now and supporting schools and whatnot. So it's not like just bringing everyone together, it's also when they're supporting schools and seeing, what's going on, at the schools. So definitely an area we can improve on, but definitely been including a lot of, professional development in general for them.
And know that that'll be the topic we'll be discussing at the next school board meeting, which is the professional development in the district.
I'd like to also add too, that we've also changed the compensation model. So any TA that goes into a special ed classroom, they're paid a higher rate of pay than going into a regular classroom setting. So that's also a plus to certainly attract and retain those TAs in those special needs classrooms. So the compensation is certainly different. That's not
Thank you for sharing that, exit, indication from the survey. I was able to briefly read before, coming over here. I think one of the items I remember was teachers not feeling, appreciated, right, in terms of leaving, right? Yeah, how do we tackle, I guess, morale and provide additional supports to teachers in that way? I guess, what are we doing on that issue? Because I would imagine that's probably a glaring choice that, people that take that as a survey that we're checking out, so.
Well, you know, our teachers leave the profession on the first 3 years of teaching. So what we are doing here in Providence Public School District is certainly putting in place a mentorship program. We have cohorts where all new teachers, first year, second year, even third year teachers are coming monthly to meet with us to discuss those content, to provide that support, to look at what are the things that they need help with, it's instructional, it's social, emotional, case might be, to provide that support for those new teachers. They provide an ambassador, a mentor within their schools to support them and help them be successful. More work needs to be done there. There are a lot of gaps there that we need to fill in. That is the purpose of having a retention study done. To certainly look at those strategies as to what else we can do. What are some things? What are some best practices out there across the nation right now? What are some out-of-box thinking that we can certainly implement to support our teachers? And of course, we have to look at the leaders in our schools. We have to support our leaders in helping them to certainly support their teachers. And we have a number of new leaders within positions. We have to ensure that they're equipped to certainly provide that support and education so that we can retain our teachers. So a lot of things, a lot of intricacies there that we have to take a look at. But I think that's the purpose of looking at this retention plan across the district to see what it is that we need to do, put in some things to support our leaders as well as supporting our teachers.
Yeah, that's fair, and I definitely getting just more information, because what made me think about that aspect was, is there a difference in terms of, there's gotta be a difference in morale in terms of the teachers that are engaged, let's say like actual leaders of color, like their school has like a, hey, we're gonna do happy hours here, we talk amongst each other, so we're building a community, right? Or if, TFA teachers, that they have a whole bunch of events geared to them to try to keep them engaged. So I wonder with that study if it's just maybe creating more partnerships with corporations that wanna fund those types of things, or entities that wanna help, because it wouldn't take that much. I know TFA has a happy hour like week for their teachers, right? So I wonder if we can fund or execute stuff like that per school, or different areas of the city, right? Like, hey, we're gonna have a happy hour for you here. It's on us because we know that. Yeah, and it's coming from the district. Like, I know every year, I think the last day of school, these teachers go to hot club, right? Are they gonna imagine if that was something that was coordinated, sponsored, supported, loved by the district, right? I think for some things we might overshoot it in terms of things like appreciation, where it could be just the small thank yous, like the little things, like, oh, they really thought of us and they gave us a $10 gift card for yada yada. You know,
Also put the climate.
yes, all those things, 100%. But I'm thinking also because small things do add up.
Absolutely. Look for that invitation for the retention.
Yeah. No, it's sensitive. My only comment would be is just, we gotta update the website, as soon as like President Rojaz, you wrote that down. And I know like RIDECAST data is TBD, and I think once we get that, we should be able to fill out all the metrics 22, 23, and then have that on the slide publicly, right? For our community.
Updated, you mean?
Yeah, updated
Yeah.
for 22, 23, right? I think going forward, when we have these types of reports, we need to look at what the TAP, metrics are, and are we meeting it or not? I think that's gotta be there. And if we're not, why? And if we are, let's celebrate.
And I keep saying, like, you'll have the opportunity to come to the board and like mention all the awesome initiatives that you're doing. But I would love to see more of like the actual TAP goals in these documents because for some people, this doesn't mean a lot, right? They don't make the connection. Whereas if we're putting the goal there and then progress and what's next, then I feel like that is a little bit more meaningful for them. And as we celebrate the great things, I think it's also important to make sure that we highlight, you know what, we might be still lacking at this, and I think that's okay, right, Mark? All right. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for your presentation. We're always available if you have any questions. We're your partners, so please feel free to reach out, ask us questions, let us know if you need anything.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. So we do have the other sections that we did okay with your motions and the November.
Yeah, we can do a lot of this.
Yeah. So do we need a motion?
I don't think we need a motion. I think we do. Yeah, because it's not a voting vote, so we can just motion to meeting with everything.
All right. I second it. Any discussion?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
All opposed?
All right, thank you, everyone. Andrew, I'm so sorry. No, that's okay. No, it's fine. Okay, sorry.
Since it's the discussion, we could probably just, talk to you.